Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira. From Mabadu, my brothers and sisters, the topic of my khutbah today is repair your relationships. The secret of influencing, the secret of happiness in this life, and a true resource is good relationships. Recently, somebody sent me a video about the longest running study in Harvard on human behavior. It has been running for 84 years. Dr. Robert Waldinger, the director of the Harvard Study of Adult Development and co-author of the book called The Good Life, discusses lessons learned from world's longest scientific study on happiness. The object of the study is what makes a good life. Originally, there were 724 participants. 268 were sophomores at Harvard. Among the sophomores were the future President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, and the future Washington Post editor, Ben Bradley. Later, they included in the study 440 what they call Boston boys, less privileged inner city children. Then they expanded the pool to include 1,300 descendants of these people, and they've been tracking these people for 84 years. And the retention rate in that study is an amazing 84%. Now, just to give you an idea of how rigorous this is, every 2 years, the participants answer a lengthy questionnaire. Every 5 years, they surrender their medical records. So they're studying this from not just from impression, but from actually physiological changes. And every 15 years, they have a face-to-face interview. And the lesson? Good relationships keep us happier and healthier. Now, how does social media factor into this? Especially given the problems with anxiety and depression and mental illness. Waldinger says if you use social media to connect with people, it increases your happiness levels. But if you only consume other people's social media, like Instagram posts and so on, and I will add for myself Twitter, and worst of all, WhatsApp University forwards, happy pictures of holidays and beaches, or blood and gore and murder from here, this place and that place, it tends to make us much less happy, as we feel that we internalize all the negativity that we get from all this. Now, in their parallel study, they did this, and they also took out some. They picked people from this study to study them even more in depth. In their parallel case studies were two Harvard sophomores from highly privileged backgrounds. One became a high school teacher and retired. The other became a very prominent attorney, won lots of awards, and became very wealthy. In the study, the high school teacher came out the happiest and the attorney the least happy. Waldinger says that the study showed that this had entirely to do with how they maintained or failed to maintain their relationships. My brothers and sisters, I submit to you that all relationships depend only on two things: appreciation and forgiveness. I want to propose to you, therefore, that you remove one word from your vocabulary. That word is tolerance. Remove tolerance and replace it with appreciation. Now, why do I ask you to do that? I do that because when you tolerate someone, you're really saying to yourself, this is a really nasty piece of action that I wish didn't exist. I wish I didn't have to deal with this person. Given a choice, I would rather be far away from this person. But since I have no choice in the matter and I don't want more grief, I will tolerate him or I will tolerate her. Think tolerance or tolerating, and you will not be thinking of someone you love. Or, from my perspective, a double shot of espresso, or a triple chocolate sundae, or a glorious sunset, or your dog or your cat or your pet. You will not be thinking of anything that brings a smile to your face or a warm glow in your heart. You will be thinking, oh my God, this person again. Okay, let's finish this. But when you think appreciation, you are thinking love and gratitude, missing someone, the pain of parting. You are thinking beautiful pictures and sounds and voices and dreams. So I say to you, forget tolerating anyone. Ask, how can I appreciate them? Now that opens a whole new world, starting from inquiry in a non judgmental way. That's where it starts, non judgmental. To learn more about, not to judge. It opens the doors in my mind and heart which may have been locked up by prejudice and racism and anti otherism, all part of my childhood conditioning, maybe. Let's remind ourselves, I'm not a child anymore. For my part, I haven't been for decades. I consider myself to be an adult, an independent, educated, discerning, intelligent adult, capable of making my own decisions. Then why am I still stuck in my childhood conditioning? Why do I allow attitudes that I developed unthinkingly, even unconsciously, to continue to keep me in the rut of negative attitudes, preventing me from forming positive, loving, and blessed relationships? True it is that only knowledge can set us free. We must learn about others. By doing that, we learn about ourselves. So the question I ask myself and request you to ask yourself is, how much effort do I make? How much effort do you make to initiate and maintain relationships? What do we do to build bridges? In our context, how much effort do we make for interfaith relations, for the work of Dawat al-Islam? How do you appreciate others? By consciously doing two things. One, focus on commonalities, not on differences. And two, see differences as a joyful discovery. Alright, may not be joyful, but at least interesting. We must make the shift mentally that difference between people is precisely that, different. It's not good or bad, it's not nice or nasty, it's not virtuous or evil, it's simply different. And so it is always interesting. For most of us, our conditioning, unfortunately, is the opposite. The one who's different is someone I can only look down upon, fear and hate and worse. The good news is that this can end today, right now, but only if we choose to end it. So, are you ready? Today we live in a world where hatred is big business. Hatred sells. Hatred is popular. Hatred and talking divisive language gets you elected and keeps you in power. What you watch on social media determines what you get on social media. So if you watch hateful, divisive things, violence of one group against another, that is what you will get to watch more and more. And that will reinforce all the negativity in you about that other group. You will never be allowed to see the other side. You will never know what your favorite group did to the others that you hate. And even if you do, you will say, well, good for them. They deserve it. In our brave new world, we are encouraged to despise and look down on others and to dehumanize and demonize them. Most of us swallow this hook, line and sinker. And we are drawn into the nets of the fishermen who sell us to the highest bidder. That is what we must fight, because it is destroying us as a nation, as a people, and it is destroying our world. The best antidote to this venom is to appreciate others and to express that appreciation. People are not mind readers, and even if they are, we all enjoy being appreciated, right? The second requirement, if we want to build good relationships, is to forgive one another. Develop a selective memory. Remember the good and forget the bad. Learn the lesson, but then forget the incident. Don't be a garbage collector. Imagine, to help you understand what I mean by garbage collector. Imagine you're riding a Harley on the highway, beautiful morning, you're all togged up, and ahead of you is a garbage truck. And as you are enjoying your ride, suddenly a piece of wet garbage flies off the truck and hits you here on your chest. You can smell it, stinks, and you can smell it stink. Even though you have a helmet and so on, you can still smell it. What do? Two things. First, learn the lesson. Never drive behind a garbage truck. Second, pull up at the nearest lay-by and wash off that garbage. Now, what do you say about somebody who instead of that keeps the garbage where it is, and every once in a while he bends down his head and smells it and says, ah, yes. And every little while he does that. He bends down and then he grimaces in disgust and curses the truck driver. And what's more, he never washes that jacket. He keeps that garbage there and he keeps smelling it over and over again. Now, what do you say to somebody like that? Now, that is what happens when we don't forgive others, but instead we carry the grudge in our hearts. The only one that hurts, the only one who gets to smell the garbage is you, not the truck driver. He's long gone. But by your own choice, you remain with the garbage. Tell me, is that intelligent? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to forgive others to gain His forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah An-Nur, وَلَا يَأْتَلِي أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and let not those among you who are blessed with graces and wealth swear not to give any sort of help to their kinsmen, the masakin, the poor, and those who left their homes for Allah's cause. Let them pardon and forgive. Do you not love that Allah should forgive you? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is oft forgiving and most merciful. Now we know this ayat and the asbab al-nuzul of this ayat, which came because after the blame and the what they said, the rumor they spread about our mother Sayyidah Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha and her father Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, because one of the people who was involved in that was somebody who Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu used to support, but this man he took part in this false allegations. So Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu refused. He said, I will not support this man again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Quran. And this is the ayat which came. Allah is saying, don't you want Allah to forgive you? So forgive the other person. In a case where the harm done to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu and to his daughter Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha and to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, because this was his wife. The damage is so severe, Allah says, it doesn't matter, forget it. Forgive them. Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there are three things concerning which, by the one in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would certainly swear an oath. Wealth does not decrease because of charity. So give charity. No man pardons another for some mistreatment, seeking thereby the pleasure of Allah, but Allah will raise him in status because of that. And no one asks of people, but Allah will increase him in poverty. And this is in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Ubadah bin Thamit radiallahu anhu said, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, there is no man who suffers an injury to his body that he forgives the one who caused it as an act of charity, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will absolve his sins commensurate with the extent of his charity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive him equal to the harm that he suffered, and he forgave. And this is also in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Another hadith in Musnad Imam Ahmad is Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhu. He said that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, be merciful to others and you will receive mercy. Forgive others and Allah will forgive you. Finally, in Sunan Abi Dawud, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it is not lawful for a Muslim to forsake his Muslim brother, meaning that he does not return his salam, he does not speak to this person because of whatever happened. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it is not lawful, it is haram for a Muslim to forsake his Muslim brother beyond 3 days. And whosoever does so for more than 3 days and then dies will certainly enter Jahannam. May Allah protect us from ourselves. My brothers and sisters, I remind you and myself, forgiving builds friendship. Not forgiving builds enmity. Ask yourself what you would rather have, friendship or enmity. Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he held his hand. Subhanallah, see these people. I mean, how fortunate they were and how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed them. Mu'adh bin Jabal said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam held my hand and he said, "Oh Mu'adh, by Allah, I love you." This is the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying to Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu, "I love you." Subhanallah. He says, Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam held my hand and he said, "Oh Mu'adh, by Allah, I love you. And I advise you not to miss this dua after every salah." And he taught him this dua. What is the dua? Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, help me, a'inni, make my i'ana. Oh Allah, help me, ala dhikrik, help me to remember you. Wa shukrik, and to thank you. Wa husni ibadatik, and to worship you in the best manner. And this is in Abu Dawud and An-Nasai. My brothers and sisters, Al-Miqdam bin Madi Karib radiallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when one of you loves his brother, tell him about it. Let him know. When one of you loves his brother, let him know. And this is in Tirmidhi. Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu said in a hadith in Abu Dawud that a man was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when another man passed by, and this man said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I love that man." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, he said, "Did you tell him?" The man said, "No." Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Go tell him." So the man ran, he caught up with him and he said, "I love you for the sake of Allah." And his friend replied, "May the one for whose sake you love me also love you." And this is in, as I said, in Abu Dawud. My brothers and sisters, if you love someone, tell them. That is the sunnah. It is mustahab. Do it and you will see the wisdom behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's advice. Because some things cannot be described. They must be felt. And they will change you. You will not be the same person again. You will be a much better person. Go out of your way. Be nice to someone. To help them. To smile at them. Hug them. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve it. Like Nike says, just do it. Connect for no reason. Because connecting is the best reason. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to do that. My brothers and sisters, this ummah is built on love, on concern and consideration for one another. We know this hadith very well. An-Nu'man bin Bashir radiallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the example of the believers in their affection and mercy and compassion for each other is like that of a body. When one limb aches, the whole body reacts with sleeplessness and fever. And this is a hadith, a Sahih hadith, muttafaqun alayh, agreed upon in Bukhari and Muslim. Given our situation today, we must ask if we are still one body, one ummah or not. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us the symbol of being one body, of being one ummah, is a body that feels the pain of any part of it. Are we like that? We should ask this question. The way to correct that is the same way to correct any social, societal or global problem, and that is to make the correction in our own lives. That is the only part of the universe we control. It may look like a small thing, but it's not. It's the most powerful thought, because if each one of us makes that small correction in our lives, we will create a world that will be based on compassion and concern for each other, and the courage to do what it takes to fight oppression. This thing of making this small change in ourselves is not small for another reason, which you will discover when you start thinking about forgiving someone you have hated all your life, and for good reason. It's not easy. It is not easy. It's very difficult. But do it, and you will experience relief like nothing else. A load will lift off your shoulders, and you will feel light and happy. Make the effort. Take the first step. Forgive that person and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them. Then pick up the phone or go and meet the other person and seek their forgiveness, and do it sincerely. Not to show anyone, only for the sake of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you, and Allah will forgive you as He promised to do that. My brothers and sisters, do this especially with blood relatives, because the relationships of the womb are not like other relationships. Our relationship with our parents and siblings and grandparents and aunts and uncles are all sacred. The womb will intercede for us or against us on the Day of Judgment, so let us correct any problems with those relationships. And let us do that before it is too late. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla Jalaluhu to help us to do that which pleases Him, and to save us from that which does not please Him. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.